Ideas flow, but never last.
Today's topics are embodiment is leadership, energy exchange is sacred, healing starts with choice, and self-leadership is freedom.
Rambling on, no straight lines. Welcome to my busy mind.
Welcome to Ramblings of a Busy Mind, episode 27. I just did 26, so that's kind of hard to do. 27. My guest today is Lara Bokovay. Bokovay. You got to do that yourself, Lara. She's a mom, a truth teller, an entrepreneur, and she guides women into alignment. Anything to add to that? Other than me boggling your name.
No.
No. We have no discussion because you say no.
That is who I am.
Good one. Okay, so you guide women into alignment. What does that mean?
So through truth telling, so I guide women to find their truth. So to find their truth, and then through embodied leadership, I help them sort of unravel all their patterns and limitations that stop them from living a life in alignment. So usually it means peeling back different layers, figuring out, where their wounding is, why they're in their hypermasculine, all of the above to sort of ground them back in and find their direction.
So you say embodied leadership. Tell me, like, if somebody doesn't know those words, if somebody never heard those words, what does that entail?
I think there's a big difference in textbook theory and actually living it. And so I truly lead the way by living the way. So a lot of the times through my readings and my coaching, I'm pulling in a lot of my own experiences to help ground in the message. And then it allows people to see what it actually looks like instead of just conceptualizing theories of healing and generational patterning and trauma work and you name it. So, whether it is emotional, things that we're working through, whether it's physical, and working with different healing modalities, whether it's working with different frequencies, all of the above. It's really figuring out what actually is going on in the root, and then creating or shining a light moving forward for them to sort of walk down that path.
Mm-hmm. So basically you bring them into themselves, and they live. The leadership means they lead their own life.
Exactly.
They lead themselves and in their own body. Like being their own leader.
I'll show you the way. You have to do the work.
Yeah, that's a good one. You said readings. So readings as a mediumship or readings?
Yeah, I do intuitive readings. So, I mean, technically you can class me as a psychic medium, but I mean, that's, that really pigeonholes you into a different area. And I stopped doing soul mediumship readings a long time ago, just because when I was reading, I was coaching, and when I was coaching, I was reading or channeling. So I do both. A lot of my work, even my coaching work, is intuitively, there's the functionalities or the main patterns of coaching, and then there's my intuitive threads that sort of, pull everything through.
No matter if you come from mediumship or energy healer, as soon as you start working intuitively, you cannot let that side of you go. And it grows with the more you do, the more you become aware of the cues that you receive energetically, and then you pass them on. Me these days, often I get a treatment from somebody and I have a message for them instead of them for me, which is pretty funny. And mine are often visual, so I see pictures or movies or whatever and pass them on. And if it's really meant for that person, I have the need to say it, otherwise I get sick, like physically feel sick to my stomach if I don't tell.
And it's such a beautiful exchange. Like, I even this past weekend, I went to go see another healer, and I had no idea what I was expecting in that session. But I knew intentionally that I needed help to move through some energy. And, an hour session turned into 2.5 hours. And it was just, I felt like we were both in this massive, like, channeling vortex and bubble. It was such a beautiful experience. And then, yeah, I slept most of the weekend. But, that it truly, when you are able to witness someone else and they're able to witness and see you and you allow yourself to be seen, it's pretty magnetic.
It's always an exchange, no matter if it's somebody that works on you or if you're working with a client. Most people don't realize is that there's always an exchange in one form or another.
Yeah.
Be that simplest form, therapeutic touch. When I offer somebody a session, my energy will be renewed and will be filled and will be flowing because I offer grounding to the other person. And as soon as their energy starts flowing, it's flow through both of us. So we're both benefiting at the same time. It's not that they're directly directing any energy flow towards me, but just by assisting them in their flow, my flow will be set better or straight or balanced, whatever you want to call it. And yes, I agree totally, especially when you do exchange with energy healers or mediums. Anybody who's working the energy in any way, you have an exchange. You will always have a give because energy is not just about taking. It's not about or just about giving, right? I call it an offer, and an offer can be taken or not. But as soon as you accept an offer, you usually are offering something back. And that is a great part in when we work with each other.
No, and that's part of the beauty of the experience, right? When you find someone else and once again, it's your intention going through it and figuring out, or being able to receive as well as give whatever frequency is sort of.
So you're a mom
Mhm.
of boys or girls?
A little girl.
A little girl. How
Yeah.
do you install embodiment leadership in her?
I mean, like a lot of for her, it's the inner trust, it's the inner knowing of what is going on because that builds her inner confidence, and so there's a lot of things that, obviously because she's my DNA, she does have her own gifts automatically, and we always say that she leads the way, because she's not trapped by fears and judgments and all that kind of stuff. So, she truly is very connected. But for her, it's trusting what she's feeling, and then it's witnessing her. Once again, I think there's such a power in witnessing. Like there's, the fact that I have the awareness now of what she might be experiencing or what I feel from it. There's such a my whole parenting has shifted drastically because I can literally see myself in her and I can witness her in where she's at. And so because I can do that, I bring words to what she might not know how to express yet and vice versa. You know what I mean? So it's a quite a potent relationship because I'm able to witness her and I'm able to pull her through different things and neutralize a lot of the things that she's experiencing that could be internalized as, harder, challenging, or traumatic, or whatever, you want to call it as. So, yeah, with her, it's building that confidence in herself that, yeah, what she's seeing is real. If she is seeing loved ones that have passed, it is very real. And the signs and symbolisms, when she goes out in the morning, she goes, "Hi, crows." Like there's a lot of, um, there's embracing that we are all cosmically intertwined and that there's, the 5D and the 3D and, the things that she says automatically, like she is so aware of her surroundings. And so, yeah, it's more so embracing and witnessing her through all those things. So she internalizes what she actually is experiencing as valid and real. So she doesn't have to hide that part of herself or, gaslight herself into believing that that's not
Well,
real.
if you look at the generation women like us between let's say 35, 40, I'm 54, so up to 60 and older, it was not accepted, like not for me, because I had a very loving family and I was not tied into the energetic thought process, let's say it this way. But the liberation of kids these days, that they are allowed to be, and they are allowed to have their spirit guide, they're allowed to talk to, and before it was like, yeah, no, you don't have an imager, and just stop that, that's just your fantasy, you got to grow up, you got to be in the world, and you got to be here, and being put in such a brain functioning person, and not so much spiritual or even physical. If you look at that today to where it was before, I think the change is pretty awesome to get
Well,
to.
no, it's so awesome. Like even all the different healing modalities that I use, you know what I mean? Like there's such like what a mindset shift to know and have experience being able to heal yourself naturally and to, know that you have the power energetically to heal this. And you have like there's just, it's not just in really knowing and trusting what your body is telling you, but it's making sure that, your whole vessel, like your whole energetic channel is fully calibrated, fully moving all the time. So, it's a very different mindset to know the power that we have too, right? To never sort of die down that brilliance or
Yeah,
magnificence.
and then you have the part where you have that ability, you have that shine to you, and you're not allowed to live it. So you put the expectations of others or the values of others are constantly putting you down and keeping you in that box. How much overwhelm does that create? How much burnout again, because you're not your true self. You're boxed in. You have to live that part, or you have to negate that natural part of you in a way that it's not serving you. And you were just talking about you healing yourself. Do you want to dive into that for a little bit?
I mean, like you name it. So, when it comes to a lot of deviations from normal, like we all have a lot of deviations from normal over time. But I had different cysts and masses in my uterus that I've been able to um, control and actually shrink, and with using different frequency modalities and whether it's sound therapy or sound frequencies or frequencies, all of the above, between supplementation. Like there's just so many different things that my eyesight was, I had laser eye surgery. My eyes regressed as they normally do, and I really did not want to have my eyes re-lasered. I had my eyes lasered when I was 17, so way too young to do that. But, almost 30 years later, or over 30 years later, my eyes eventually regressed. And so I was just like, okay, what can I do? And so between supplementation and frequencies and all that kind of stuff, my eyes are back to 2020. So like I know the power of all that kind of stuff. I also completely tore my left Achilles over a year and a half ago, and broke my hand. Opted for no surgery and was going to heal naturally. And once again, with the power of supplementation and herbal remedies and both, and working with frequency practitioners, and then my own frequency machines, as well as different like light therapy things. Like now my balance is back. My nerve endings are like finally fusing. So I definitely know the power of knowing that it's possible. And so that's also a whole different awareness, even as a parent, because it's like, okay, what are we running? You know what I mean? Like there's so many different options now to navigate different things, that everything's no longer a fear. Like there's no limitations for my life, for my body, for all of the above, because I know that there's a way. So I know that it's possible because living proof of it.
Yeah, not everybody will experience that because there's doubt, there's not the ability and things. So we are individuals, and I have had my own experiences in the form of tuning forks overgrowing an implant. So the bone grew so much
Mm.
by using the tuning forks on the bone that the growth was over the implant and they actually had to chisel it open to put the screw in. Or falling downstairs, twisting my ankle all the way around, and that would have usually been crutches and everything. And I just sat down and did therapeutic touch and balanced it, and within half an hour, I was able to walk again.
Like it's amazing. It's truly amazing. But that's the thing. So doubt is fear, right? And so it's a fear. And so when I talk about like that embodied leadership, you know what I mean? It's like, no, no, no. Like I know that you have to make a choice. That's all it is. It's not anything complicated. It's like, well, how do I make a choice? How do I get rid of the fear? It's just a choice. It's a choice you consciously make over and over and over again until that's your reality and you've dismantled those fears. But it's like, no, I have a choice to believe, to trust that this is possible, that my body can do this. And I just have to continue to hold that vision, hold that vision of what you think is possible, hold the vision of what you think and what you want to call in for your future and what your reality looks like, and anchor it in.
Yeah, the trust is a big part. Like I know that for myself, that as soon as I started believing and trusting in myself and my abilities, nothing shook me anymore. And at the same time, nothing can actually force me to do something unless I go back into fear.
Yeah.
Because if I trust in myself, I don't have that fear. And I was just talking to a friend before about the not being valued as an employee, for instance. And I remember going into, like, every time my boss came and said and wanted something, the more I was in burnout, the more stressed that was for me, because I always expected to be scolded. I always expected to have done, the first reaction was, I've done something wrong, like this. And today, if somebody comes and wants something, I'm like, yeah, what's up? And if it's an error I made, then I will own up to it without fear, because yes, I'm human and I make mistakes. But on the other hand, is I know my value, and I know that even if I make a mistake, I'm still valuable, at least for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care about the other person. Right? And then you come to a place where you're not put in the corner anymore or guided to wherever you don't want to go to, because you trust in whatever happens is yours, and you can make the best out of it, and it will be fine, and life becomes so much easier and calmer.
Well, it's all for your highest good, even if you don't have to like it, right? So that's the whole thing. It's all for your highest good, right? Everything happens, life happens for you, not to you, and that is a powerful phrase to repeat over and over and over again.
Do we like lessons, or do we like what lessons bring? Most times, nope. But it's no, actually, I gotta say that's wrong. I like lessons these days because there's almost so much, like, there's always so much learning in it. There's so much growth in it. And these days when something happens, I might go like, ugh, yeah. Like last week when I had the incident with my arm, with my back, I took my back out. And here's somebody who led a energy healing group for more than 10 years, who knows she can call the energy healers and say, send some work on me, please, blah, blah, blah. It took me 3 days to realize that I never even thought about it. So I ran around with back pain for 3 days. And then I went to the session and they got me fixed basically in one session, pain-free. And then I go home and do something stupid and got it back. So I have a lesson in there that I didn't listen to. And part of that is not taking care of me and lately. And yeah, I hear it and I get it. But the other part is too, like, I was so stuck in everything else that I didn't even think about my safety plan or my safety net that is there, that is in place, right?
Well, that's what Louise Hay says the back is, right? If the back hurts, it means that you feel unsupported. So, I mean, and once again, you're like, oh, right, I am supported. I do have, all these beautiful healers around me that can support me. And I do already have all the tools and modalities at my fingertips. I'm just being stubborn.
Stupid, I would say. Yeah, and that's, again, self-talk. No, we're not stupid. We're just blind to ourselves in the moment, and we're gonna change that into something better. Sorry.
No, but it's easier said than done when you're in the thick of it. Like that's the whole thing. That's the power of also working with other practitioners, is because you get someone to witness you. Like a shadow is a shadow for a reason. It's behind you. You can't see it, right? So it's like, when we're so enmeshed in whatever we're going on, whatever, spiral we're in and all this kind of stuff. And like between the full moon and the eclipses and all the wackadoo energy that's been around, for the last little bit, like, yeah, we've all been going through it for sure. So like it's more of it's recognizing, as you said, it's like, no, you weren't self-caring and self-loving. Like you sort of, and that's the core of it is, why do I self-sabotage? Why do I choose not to self-care and self-love? Like, all these things happen. And it's taking the accountability. I think that's the beautiful thing too, when you realize that life is happening for you, not to you. And those lessons are coming because it's something that you need to experience in this moment or go through that layer of awareness and your healing. It's like, okay, right. Like, this is what's being presented. You don't have to like any of it, but you embrace that, okay, well, now's the time, right? Like we have no control over our lessons and how they unfurl and when we need to learn what we need to learn at what given point. So it's when we know that we co-create our life and that we are co-creating everything, and that when we take accountability for our part in everything, then it launches us out of this like victim mentality. And so therefore, like I said, then you realize you're like, oh right, I'm co-creating this. Okay, right. Something can happen to you, but it's totally in your court to decide how you're going to internalize it, how you're going to, work with it, where you're going to move next. So being able to jump out of that victim mentality allows you to feel more empowered, feel more accountable, all of the above, to sort of like move forward into that direction of like less
It's
self-sabotage.
it's so interesting what you just said, because I've been using like the phrase we are not, like, we cannot do anything about our circumstances, but we can do something about how we react or respond. But part of that is too that I had when I was in my 20s, I had a boyfriend, and we broke up, and I was devastated. And I was like, whoa, he did that, and he did that, and he did here, and he did. And a friend of mine turned around and said, what are you talking about? You let him do it. That was such an eye opener. And it's the same thing, like whatever happens in your life, right? How you respond to it, react to it, is up to you. It's not to any. I can laugh about when I make a mistake, and can own it, and can say, yeah, me being whatever. Or I can hide it, and can be shameful, and can be living in fear that somebody will see it. But if I own it, nobody can really put me down for it, because I'm owning up to what I've done. Right?
But it allows you also to move forward, to not allow that to happen again. Like knowing your part in it is so powerful, right? Like, and right, you allowed it. So why did you allow it? So then you peel down on the trauma. You're like, okay, right. I've never had any self-worth and self-value, so that's why I've always allowed it, right? So it's like, it's not that someone is a shitty person. It's that, no, you accepted shitty behavior and didn't have enough self-love and self-value and self-worth to walk away. So
I didn't want to give up. I was stubborn, period. I didn't want to give up on the relationship. And it shouldn't have been him having to tell me that he wasn't interested for the last half year. It should have me being it should have been me realizing that that's it. It's not working. But in that age, who is so smart to realize that it's better.
Lessons of the heart are always harder ones to navigate.
Well, these days I'm I'm living to the point that I'd rather end it fast than have an ongoing ending and then walk away. And then if it needs to be started again, or if it wants to start again, you come back together anyway. But in anything or part, like I, even with my customers in the business, I'd rather have a clear cut and say, that's it. I'm not taking up with that. I'm not being abused or have a relationship that's not working with you as a client or customer. I'd rather walk away with it, even if it means with a loss. But I'm not catering to people anymore in that way, that I try to keep them on and keep them on, and in the hopes that I might recover the money that I lost, or the rekindle the relationship. I'd rather break it off and then see where it goes in other ways, because it doesn't help.
Yeah,
There's
well, that's you holding your self-worth and your self-value. It's not
yes.
really about the customer. It's
Yeah.
knowing your boundaries and your, sovereignty and where you stand with everything,
And
right? Like there's
I find in a lot of people that are burned out or that are overwhelmed, they don't hold to their standards. They don't keep their limits, or set clear boundaries and say to here and not further.
Well, I don't think they understand how it's related to their self-worth and their self-value. That's the thing. You could talk about boundaries and standards all you want, but what does that actually mean? Like, right? Like it's like when when someone gets their heart broken, it's because you were careless with your heart. So why were you careless with your heart? So once again, it's like it's so much deeper than putting in boundaries. And it's sort of just like, yeah, none of us want to end relationships, but the truth is it's not because we didn't want the relationship to end, it meant that we were going to be alone. Like that's the root of it, is the fear of abandonment, is the being alone, is the not being chosen, is the, like that's the root of it all. It's not, some of us really we're flogging a dead horse. Like that is, we should have walked long ago. But once again, you can't leave something until that moment. You can have everyone screaming at you about something, but until you realize how you don't love yourself and how you have no self-worth and self-value, like that is the root of it. Like there's all the surface things, but the root of it is, if you want to be loved properly, then start loving yourself properly. Like if you want to be treated different, then start treating yourself differently. And enforcing, and it's not even enforcing, because you can't control what anyone else does. The only person that you can control, like you said, is yourself. So the only person that can say no or not respond or not engage is you all the time.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter if that's relationships, if that's work, or if that's friendships or whatever. Anywhere where you have an interaction with somebody else, it's you who sets the rules for yourself. It's nobody
Exactly.
else, right? And that's so it in theory it's so easy, but for most it's not. Like they think they're stuck, they have to cater to a different person, like a boss. Yes, in some ways you have to, but you always have the choice to walk away. You always have the choice to react a different way. I had to spiel with my boss that I used to say, no, that doesn't work. And naturally he didn't like that, hear that. It's clear. So when I learned to say, I try my best, in my mind I might still go like, no, that never works. But I said I try my best. So it took the block out of the whole situation. It took the wall that I was building up with my no, the energetic block, it took it right out of it, because I offered to do my best. And there's nothing else that I can offer, because I can only do my best. I cannot do anything else. It's interesting when you start doing that, when you change to that perspective, everything becomes easier, because you're taking the energetic connection between you and whomever, be that relation, be that family, be that kids, be that whatever. If you shift the perspective to I do my best and not create other expectations and not fall into their expectations, then you're unraveling the whole box that you're in.
Well, that's the thing. You could remove those expectations, but also someone's doing their best is still not acceptable sometimes, right? Like so, and that's the other. Yes, okay, that removes in that instant that resistance in regards to, co-working and co-creating whatever, your purpose is together. But, there's a lot of times too that people say that they're doing their best, but doing their best does not excuse bad behavior. And I think that's
No,
that, and especially like that's a very big trap in motherhood or parenting that you're doing your best. Well, doing your best, you need to do better. Like there's a very fine line between that you're doing your best and actually taking accountability to be impeccable, to not project on your children or for them, you know what I mean? Like it's
true,
a
true.
there's a
I
there's a
agree.
there's a
I agree
very
with
fine
you,
line.
and that's not the way I meant it. The way I
Yeah,
meant
no,
is
like I
doing
said, in your
best.
situation,
Yeah,
it's yeah.
doing the best you can in your situation doesn't mean that you're not trying to do better. That's period. It's not an excuse. So I tried my best and yeah, I didn't really do it. No, you have to have standards. You have to have certain ways that things are done because that's how our society works. But if you're going from the beginning and I cannot fulfill that to a place of I do my best to fulfill what I need to fulfill, then it's different than just saying well, whatever, right?
But how freeing it is, would it be saying, I can't do that, or that's not attainable for me, as opposed to also not meeting expectations. Like it's
Can you always do that? That's the other part. Like
well, that's a choice,
job
right?
wise, yes, you can choose to say no, I cannot obtain. Then your boss might say, okay, then you're fired. It's your choice. But you can also see and change your perspective of that was my fault. Like my perspective was whatever he says doesn't work.
Mm.
Right. So I changed to I try my best. And then sometimes I was surprised that it worked because I didn't set up that block. Other times it didn't work. But as I told him I'll try my best, we found a compromise. Right. And a change of perspective often is more valuable than anything else because
Oh,
yes,
100%.
also yes, somebody saying, oh, like I said with my relationship, saying he did that to me. When I changed my perspective to I let him do it, I took 50% of the responsibility of whatever happened was mine. 100% was it probably was my it was both of our faults that it kept going so long because he never told me he didn't want to do and I just was too stubborn to say no. I quit. Right. It's always choices and
But how freeing would it be to just take 100% of it for yourself and not even 50-50?
I don't
If
know.
you because regardless, it's irrelevant of what he did or didn't do. If you just claim what it is for you and you're like, that's my reason, like, out, there's not that's you're still giving weight to another
Sure.
side
Yeah.
externally.
Yeah. True. 100%. And
It's
yeah.
freeing saying, yeah, I should have walked long ago, but I didn't because of my own attachment wounds, and that's why we're here,
True.
because once again, everything that they do, I mean, I've navigated divorce and breakups and all that kind of stuff. And like 100% there are things that the other person does in relationship, in partnership that adds to the fire of the unraveling of the uncoupling. But at the same time, the only person to blame is yourself for your own heartache. That's what I mean. Like for your own disappointments, for your own, once again, and you have to give yourself grace and compassion through it when you understand your whys, you know what I mean? When you understand why you were in that situation to begin with, and and take all the beautiful lessons that that experience did have, even if there were a lot of ugly ones. But at the end of the day, it's so much freeing to take all of your knowing and sort of say, yeah, okay, that's what was going on for me. And this is my out.
The fun, I agree 100% with you. And the fun part in that relationship was that we were sitting together and I said, well, what do you want? And I was the one calling it off. I said, I don't want to go on like that. And then he says to me, well, I could have called it off 6 months ago. And I'm like, why didn't you do that? And that's what I meant with that ongoing 50% him not telling me and 50% me not. But yes, the decision, the only one who could decide to end it at that moment was me. 100%. Yes. Right. Yeah. And that's the only change. The only one who can bring change for you is yourself. 100%. Nobody else can create change for you. And if they create for change for you, it's not yours. It's somebody else's. Oh, sorry. Tickling
Bless
nose.
you.
That's what lots of people don't realize. Like they're stuck in a situation, but they're not willing to come out of it.
No, because it's easier to play victim and to blame someone else than it is to take radical accountability for your own life.
Yeah. So
Right?
for yourself, how accountability is a big part that's coming up lately often. And I find it interesting. So do you have accountability part like partners that your buddies that you run as a sounding board that you have in your background where you can run things towards and get clarity when you're stuck in your own head? Or do you hold yourself just accountable towards yourself?
Me against my own vision is like the main things. Like, yeah, I do have people in my circles, but once again, they're more of a sounding board to witness me as opposed to the accountability part. So do I have witnesses? 100%. But that is very recent, through my healing journey. I had a very, 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 very tiny circle, like maybe one or two people, like,
Mhm.
and, not even consistently what that looked like. So, self accountability is like, no, if something's not going right, it's taking it and looking within. Like most people don't want to do the reflection. Most people, and when I say reflection, yeah, that's as simple as it is. It's like, what is going on? What is out of alignment? If something's not going right, okay, well, what's going on for me? Like, what am I resisting? What am I not choosing to look at? So, accountability, self-accountability and self-awareness are the two huge things that you have to get to on your own because you can't seek validation from anyone or anything outside of you. Like that's a very tricky slope when people start having people externally validate them because then they can never get to those awarenesses on their own. And so you have to have the self-awareness to recognize that you're triggered or recognize when you've hit a wall again or a spiral or when you're projecting and that it's going on for you. And, we cannot seek. That's why I started even my own pulling of cards. I needed my own validation. I guess you do sometimes you need it outside of you to see, but when it comes to it's really tricky if you're relying on someone else to tell you where and what's going on, right? It's like
That's
because they don't know what's going on. They can witness what they're seeing, but if they can only witness you to the level of self-awareness that they have. So that's also, a challenge, but yeah.
that is true. And I don't see an accountability buddy as somebody who tells me that I'm done wrong. It's just somebody that I tell the things that I want to do, and then if I achieve them or not. Um,
I'm really not goal oriented. Like I've really taken performance completely out of I used to be a very competitive person. So even when it comes to
it's not so
goals,
much,
like I don't really have.
it's not so much goals or competitive. It's more like I wanna um finish this part that like I want to finish that course by then. And it's just for me speaking it out loud to somebody that will ask me at the end of the time, did you finish that course? Because
Yeah,
then
no,
there
I
is,
don't do that
you don't
at
do that.
all.
Okay, for me it's a good one because it keeps me, I get sidetracked with
So
my,
if you didn't have that, how would you have your own embodied leadership?
that's a good question. If I don't have it sometimes because I'm getting lost in whatever I have on my plate because I put too much on my plate. And that's another thing that I learned with having an accountability buddy is like, I am very careful what I want to achieve or want to finish or want to have off my plate. I make it smaller steps with the accountability buddy instead of saying I want to have this done and create this and have it like this is my plate that I wanna work off. Instead of no, I go and say I want to achieve those two things this week, and that means I want to finish that course and I want to do this. But having the accountability buddy asking me, I'm not getting lost in everything else. And I'm keeping it small. That's where the accountability buddy is awesome for me because it just gives me a check in place, somebody that asks me, that sees me, that sees that I'm working on
Are
what.
they billing you for that?
No,
Or
no, no. It's
but
friendship.
yeah, like that I teach to be not to need an accountability buddy because yeah, at one point you're not going to have that and then you have to find your own way without anyone checking in and seeing. Now it's a different story if you need that support and you need that community and you ask, please check in on me in, a week because I'm really drowning and they go, okay, that's a different thing for you not to feel abandoned. But when it comes to actual leadership and self-embodied leadership, I know like I has to come, that drive and need and want and fire has to come within or it will never be 100% genuine, right? Because then you're trying to like, my fire is so deep in like even if it comes to like building a business, it's like, if you want to grow, I could give someone saying, "Okay, I want to do this." And yeah, they could ask me if I've done it down the road, but for them to hold me accountable means that we disregard all the intuitive divine timing redirections that take place because I totally live in flow and when I say I live in flow it's like like rest is just as much strategy as doing 5 posts like so for me it's like I every day is something different so if my body's telling me that I need to rest for the next 5 days and I if I created a goal like that, like it would go, it's like saying, okay, well, these are the groceries I have in my fridge, so this is what I have to eat. It's like, once again, it's like, well, that's not for me living in alignment and living in flow because what I bought, when you get to know your cycles better and you know that you crave cinnamon on these 2 days and fresh on these days, like you can also start, doing that. But yeah, like life unfurls every single second. So like I don't really have I just intuitively do what I'm intuitively called to do. And so yeah, if I had someone holding me accountable for something, it would be weird because it would be against my method of operation.
I'm wondering if it's really like the other person like okay. It's a good one. For me, it's not so much that the other person holds me accountable. I hold myself accountable towards the other person. So
Oh,
I use the other person as yes, I use officially. I use the other person as my stepping stone at the moment to keep me on track.
why don't you just do notices in your phone that ping you once in a
Don't
while?
work. Doesn't work for me.
Alarms in your phone?
I have too many on there.
So the root is why do you feel then what's your self-judgment that drives you if you
It's
don't hit those things?
No, it's not that I don't hit them. It's I have them, but I have too many because I still put too much on my plate. I put too much things that need to be done. I have a company that's shifting into something else, and um there are things that need to be done, and I'm not doing them because every time I start, something else comes up. So if I have that person that I run by what I want to achieve and what is on my plate, what needs to be done, then I'm basically holding myself accountable towards that person by saying, okay, I've done it. And the neat thing is she checks in twice, 2 days before deadline. So I have that reminder. So she's my personal reminder, not the thing that I can ignore and push away. And because there's too
Like
many,
a lot of people sent, a lot of people do what she's doing. They just invoice for it.
and she doesn't, and I don't invoice her. That's
So
yeah,
you have you have a special connection.
yeah,
You know, that's why they pay coaches, right? That's what
yeah,
personal trainers are. That's what life
yeah.
coaches are. That's what personal assistants are, is to keep that person on
Yeah,
track.
but even if you have like that's what I learned. If you have people working for you or with you, they're not per se always 100%. So if I fail and they fail, we both fail, right? It's kind of a stupid shit show that I don't want because I have somebody that I want the work to do the work for me, and then they're not doing it. Wrong person maybe. On the other hand, I don't know. Maybe it's my learning lesson that I should be more accountable to myself. I
Well,
don't know.
it's just self-leadership, right? It's not really accountable. It's how do you drive yourself without any external reminders or
I'm
validation?
learning that slowly. I'm getting there. I'm getting
No,
better.
it's a big undertaking for sure.
Yeah. And I know, and talking about the burnout brain quite often, that's one of the parts where you don't know. You cannot, because your brain is going in 5,000 miles. It's going in 5,000 directions, and you're constantly trying to pull it back, but it's so much at the same time that you're creating more overwhelm. You're getting more into stress, and that's what we want to prevent. So that's where then the person at that time, an accountability buddy in that time, or the group support, peer support, where somebody checks in on you and just asks, how are you doing? Are you getting to where you want to get to? Just those questions, not asking, did you finish, or how's it going? Like just being there and have that reminder in a voice, in a person, is for me, and from what I've learned from my clients, is a better way than the phone, because the phone you just click off and ignore. But the person you won't ignore. Right? So it's just a different safety net. And
No
I'm happy
safety
you don't
nets.
need it.
Well, it's not, it's, I mean, it would be, it'd be a great, it, like, once again, it's an external tool that if I didn't have, then I wouldn't function. So I've learned to not need anything outside of myself. So
Mm.
that's, you know, like that's the real end of freedom, or that real alignment, or that real state, is to not need anyone outside of yourself, and for you to be whole on your own without
Do
needing
you not,
anything.
do you want, like, okay, you said not need, but do you not want?
What do you mean?
It's community, it's support, it's not being me by myself. So are you focusing on you with yourself, or are you valuing community support or peer support, or just
Well,
intimacy?
I think community is imperative. Like I think community and being witnessed and connection and sharing is part of our DNA, especially women's DNA, is to be witnessed and to be in community. But when it comes to that accountability, when it comes to actually following through on something, I believe that that self-leadership, that self-embodied leadership is what is the for me, and what I share and what I guide is the ultimate, you know, like there's only me, myself, and I. So when it comes to, and when I say that is, you know, eventually those external people, when it comes to actual holding you accountable, it's your own life, right? So it's your own doing, it's your own life. And so there's the witnessing and community, which are so important, but I think the accountability and self-embodied leadership is something that doesn't need to come from having people ask into if you've done the things that you've set out to do. Like, you know, or, you know, because once again, that's task driven, that's performance driven, that's, you know, result driven, all that kind of stuff. And I don't feel that that really is in alignment for me.
What does witnessing entail for you?
So, like, witnessing is just that, you know, if I share something, then they say, "Oh, I see that you're, you know, upset," or "I could see how, you know, that was a lot really heavy for you." So, it's witnessing what they see in me, like, you know, and then I could say, "Oh, that's interesting. Like, I don't feel that way. I wonder why
Mhm.
I'm projecting that." Or, you know, so once again, it's more of a validation of their perception of what they're seeing for you to then run with it or not. But it's more of a connection point so that you're not alone and that you're seen, as opposed to, like, really it's caring and listening and support, but support in knowing that you're not abandoned, you know, as opposed to you can share, you're safe, all that kind of stuff, as opposed to you're actually holding you to task or speaking into a specific
Well, and
result.
again, in my case, it's not, I'm not being held to task. I'm just asked, how are you doing with your what you set out to, right?
Yeah.
I put out to what I want to achieve. I just voice it. And I'm not being held accountable in a way that I'm really she really pushes me to get that done. It's more like, how are you making out with that? Are you achieving what you want to achieve? Are you struggling?
Oh, well, like I love when someone speaks into my life with how
Yeah.
it's going forward, but you know, when it comes to that, but I would never choose, I love when someone is genuinely interested in my life and asks me questions about what's going on for me, but
Mhm.
I just wouldn't equate a friend a friend caring about how another friend is doing. I wouldn't equate it as accountable. I wouldn't use those two
Well,
words
then
together.
the language maybe is wrong, or differently used. But yeah, no, let's say, let it there, sit there.
Yeah.
Different language, different perspective on things. Again, um, yeah, just leave it there. And I find it so interesting how language can throw us off quite a bit. Um, and how much communication is a part of where we might go wrong or right, may resonate or not. Because I have people in my life that not per se work with, but they're friends, and some of them use language that others cannot understand,
Mm.
and that brings them to a place where there's discomfort and actually dislike almost. While if you get down to, this is their background and this is where they come from, then you can see that the language they use is maybe not how it is received on the other end, right? Yeah, that's
I get it.
to the part that I said I step away. I'm not dealing with either of you. You can deal with each other. Leave me out of it. So if you were to work with somebody, like you said, women, you don't work with men.
I do work with men. I just find they're more like I work with men. I do one-on-one coaching as well as readings, but there's just more a lot of my journey has been healing both my masculine and feminine energy wounds from a feminine operating system. And so when I pull in my own experience, it resonates and lights me up a lot more to take women on that journey
Mhm.
than it does. Like I can guide men, no problem, but there's just a deeper rooted fulfillment in helping women find their way.
Mhm. Mhm. Um, your ideal client, what is the person that finds you, or what is commonly what do they have in common with
Someone willing to do the work.
yeah,
It's
that too. But what is
it's
their
so nice. No, that's truly it. Someone who's willing to do the work. Like that is healing is not for the faint of heart. And it's so beautiful when someone can take accountability and when someone has a certain level of self-awareness and when someone can do all that kind of stuff. Like that is, and when someone is willing to dive deep into the uncomfortable and pull it through. So that is truly the ideal client's perspective. I'm a healer, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a single mom, like all that kind of stuff. So do I love working with women with very similar backgrounds to me? 100%. But, really my ideal client is someone who understands that they are the ones that need to explore and change and shift, and then the ones that actually pull it through, the ones that are keen to absorb what I'm taking and run with it and all that kind of stuff. That's what gets me excited.
and where what is a common denominator in your clients right now? Like background wise, certain age, certain what people
All over the
oh,
place.
all over the place. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm just asking because we tend to pull certain things or not, or dispel certain things in the clients that we work with, and the openness is one of the parts. If you are open to work with everybody, like I put myself out there in 2014 and I said I'm going to work with mental health. So a lot of people who come to me, and the burnout is part of the mental health, but it's I have had in the last years, I have had a lot of people with anxiety, depression, some suicidal mental health challenges, and they find me usually. Not that I go around and search for them, but or I find them. Let's say this way. um, so that's where I come from, and that made me realize that my story is with the burnout is mental health. Even so, I didn't see it, didn't wear that label, I didn't see it as that. Um, but if do you have some kind of group that you draw in?
No.
No. Okay. Good for
Not
you.
really. I mean, like, it's nice when someone has when they've done some of the work themselves and they have a level of self-awareness that they can recognize where they're stuck or that they're stuck,
Mm,
so that's always a treat.
mm,
So more and more people that are, I mean, because I'm an intuitive, I can drop into things that they might not be ready to admit to themselves. So like I said, when I say healing isn't for the faint of heart, like it's, someone has to be ready to go on that journey.
yeah, yeah. So if somebody with burnout or overwhelm comes to you, is there any tip that you can, or you meet somebody like that, is there any tip that you can give them?
Not really a tip. I mean, burnout is like a lead to like burnout is your body and nervous system shutting down. So, nervous system regulation work. Number one, have to figure out why you're in fight or flight in the first, you know, part. So, I mean, burnout is a general symptom of not living in alignment.
Yeah.
So, it's just one component. But why you burn out, why you continue to drive, why you decide not to listen to your body, why you don't, are caught up in all of the should, could, woulds, like that's truly what we work on unraveling. So it's not, there's not really a tip, because I mean, it's really the symptom of a lot of deep rooted issues
Mhm.
is what burnout is, right?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, fair.
yeah.
What would you recommend when somebody wants to see you or has no idea where to start?
I mean, a lot of times too, like usually there's some place to start. A lot of times I do like a connection call to make sure that, what they need help in finding, I can sort of, I'm happy to go on that journey with them or not. And usually usually there's a thread and we just run with it, and then it sort of unfurls from there. But if someone can already recognize that they're not in a good place, and they want something to shift, generally within a 20-minute call we have a good
Mm.
action plan with where to start. So
And if it clicks.
yeah.
Yeah, the resonance between healer and Healy is the worst. Like if you're not resonating with the person you're working with, you're in the wrong place. Right. So yes, we're gonna post all your information underneath the video, and
Perfect.
if anybody wants to reach out, you know where to find Lara, and we'll go from there. So thank you for
Awesome.
coming today. I'd love
Thank
to
you,
have you as a
Natasha, for
guest,
having me.
and I hope to see you soon.
Thoughts are racing, spinning fast. Ideas flow, but never last. Waves of wonder, thoughts untamed. Nothing ever stays the same. Rambling on, no straight lines. Welcome to my busy mind. Ideas fade, all the shine. Welcome to my